Balan Wonderworld. It's not great. It's become the punching bag video game of 2021. Everyone's playing the first 3 levels and declaring things like it's the worst thing ever since the last worst thing ever. Review scores so low you'd think it's shovelware. In a year with brand new consoles, with brand new video game releases spread out, this silly little thing stands out extra hard. Is this the true power of the PS5? But what really lies in the depths of what's allegedly lead director and father of Sonic the Hedgehog Yuji Naka's one chance to make a 3D platformer? What happens if you go all the way? Well, I 100% of the game. That's right, I got the plat. I read the novel. Yes, there's a novel, all 280 pages. I've spent weeks scouring the internet for anything Balan related. I've found tons of exploits. I've pieced together bits of lore and been baffled by certain decisions so hard I had to sleep it off. This stupid 3D platformer has captivated me. I've been pulled in so deep that all my friends hate me, but I have seen Yuji Naka's true, unyielding vision. I've literally played this game for over 60 hours and recovery seems unlikely. But I'm here to say, you know nothing about Balan Wonderworld.
Oh hi, it's me, dedicated catfather Austin Eruption, and when I'm not doing a ridiculous amount of research on a game that ostensibly nobody cares about, I'm learning new stuff, which is why Freya and I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for all you creative types out there where millions have come together to teach and learn. It's a great place to learn some new skills, dive further into your passions, and get lost in creativity. For those of you aspiring to make YouTube videos and maybe just start a channel, there's a ton of amazing classes you can take, such as Marques Brownlee's YouTube Success, Script, Shoot, and Edit. As someone who was also completely self-taught on editing and filming, watching this one's a no-brainer. Really, there's tons of different classes you can take, such as a bunch on game development, be it for sprite art, music programming, or just general game art. Skillshare is curated for learning, meaning that if you have a subscription, you'll have unlimited access to the entire catalog of classes to learn from at your pace. And at less than $10 a month for an annual subscription, you can't go wrong. So just for you guys, the first 1,000 subscribers that click the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare's premium membership so you can go off and explore your creativity. Give it a shot. Thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring the video, and now off to video game. Singular game. The end. On paper, Square Enix and lead director Yuji Naka creating something is a no-brainer. It's an old-school 3D platformer in an era sorely lacking them. It's also the Japanese side of Square, which for the most part has been doing good stuff lately. The first cutscene reveal of this game was really interesting. You take the recognizable art of Naoto Oshima and toss them directly into Square-quality CGs with an exciting big band soundtrack surrounded by Nights into Dream vibes, and I mean, who wouldn't be interested? Nights into Dreams was a fun, if extremely weird Saturn game that was 100% a product of its time. The early 3D days were bright, colorful, nonsensical, and filled with weird mascots. Sure, there were big ones like Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, but the Saturn and PlayStation had a different breed. The jumping flashes, crocs, not to mention obscure stuff like Fix the Adventure or Klonoa. Nights had you flying all over the screen through rings as fast as you could, collecting, well, I'm not really sure, but it was memorable. Ever since the industry jumped into 3D, Yuji Naka has had a very mixed success rate with high highs and a lot of middling, forgettable games. I never played it, but the Wii U version of Rodea the Sky Soldier is supposed to be a time. Forever respect for Phantasy Star Online and Choo Choo Rocket though. Those are good games. So, jump ahead to 2018 and Yuji Naka's joined Square Enix. He's putting together a group called Balan Company with the goal of creating action games instead of RPGs, which the company is normally known for, to say the least. Naka even stated himself that he doesn't, quote, think he would be good at making RPGs, which is a hell of a thing to say to a PR interview when these guys are hiring you. Balan Company would then team up with another Japanese developer, Arzest, and are given 2.5-ish years to create something that would launch around the same time as the new consoles. And that game, of course, is Balan Wonderworld. A quote one-button platformer with 80 different power-ups, one that mimics the Super Mario 64 level design philosophy with worlds being hubs for collectibles, one with an extremely memorable aesthetic and great music. It's a rare beat of originality with an injection of retro positivity, harkening back to an era of games long gone. It's also a game with abysmal sales and reviews, one that uses a one-button gameplay style that really dumbs everything down, one that feels like it should be something that was released in 1997, a game whose PR person I legit feel bad for. It's not their fault, guys, come on. There is a lot to talk about. Like a lot. I spent many hours discussing this with my friends, which is very unfortunate for them, but let's go ahead and just talk about the game itself.
let's keep this short and sweet. Balan Wonderworld is a 3D platformer with 36 levels divided across 12 stages with a total of 13 bosses to fight. Each stage is themed after a resident of the Wonderworld, which gives us the variety theme park of levels, some of which are an actual theme park. It starts by allowing you to choose a character to play as, Leo Craig or Emma Cole, each customizable. You watch a cutscene where you watch your character of choice, who seems sad AF, stumble into the Balan Theater where an insane barrage of colors and instruments barrage the player before you're told, let's go find your heart, little ones, and sucked into some portal, then immediately into the Isle of Thames. And that's gonna be the very last bit of dialogue in this game until the very end, by the way. Apparently, Yuji Naka wanted players all over the world to, quote, experience the same story by expressing it without words. We'll get back into that later, but just keep it in mind. So you're on this island, there's like a creature on the ground and some counter and a giant number 1. You head into it and start platforming. The main catch in Balan is that there's 80 different costumes you can find by collecting a key and running into a crystal. These costumes all have different abilities, some more useful than others. Your starter costume is the Tornado Wolf, who has a spinning jump that can break objects and do damage. There's 3 slots on the top for costumes, meaning you can hold 3 at a time, each also constituting a pip of damage that you can take. You'll play through 2 levels without any explanation as to what's going on, collecting statues and new costumes to give you new abilities. There's also the mini Balan bouts, which are accessible by finding a flying top hat. These mini games are quick time events where you play as Balan fighting rocks, I guess. You have to time button presses where an overlay of what the image is going to be lines up in order to progress. It's also very specific, and you get a gold statue for getting all excellence, which if you're going for 100%, you'll need. And nobody cares about that. Also, in later stages, there's up to 3 Balan bouts per act, bringing the total to 48. 48 of these things. And the last few have like 7 QTEs per. In this mode, you also get to fight the main antagonist, Lance, whose purpose or appearance is not explained at all. In fact, absolutely nothing is explained because, as I said, Yuji Naka wanted the entire game's narrative to be experienced without words. So he just kind of appears. At the end of each stage is a boss fight that's actually typically well designed and interesting to fight. This is easily the best part of Balan, and I found them to be fun generally, but don't tell anyone I said that. They're all very well visually designed and the music is amazing. The first few can go down in as quick as 40 to 50 seconds, but later fights are a bit more challenging and sometimes demand you bring in other costumes. All of the designs would fit in perfectly with a modern 3D platformer or Sonic game, and it's just proof that the lead artist, Naoto Oshima, is still killing it. Also, the music is very good here. It just sounds like an ear. Before each boss, by the way, is an amazingly animated and beautiful full-ass CG cutscene that describes the plight of each of Wonderworld's residents. The first stage being a farmer who turns into a giant tornado-slinging wolf, similar to the costume you get. Once you reach a certain amount of statues collected, Balan appears with a train to take you in a circle and unlock new stages with new residents to save, kill, having a sick dance-off with. It's kind of just happening, like the weird old Japanese 3D platformers yonder. Except those didn't have sick choreographed dance sequences with a full original song singing what sounds like complete gibberish. There's something about the way he's walking towards me. I can't deal with it. This cycle repeats until you reach the end of the game where you fight Lance, reclaim the Wonderworld, and peace out. It is indeed a video game.
And now, our next section.
Balan Wonderworld has some of the most absurd design decisions I've seen in a video game in the last decade, probably. For example, the costumes. Now, in most video games you would play, you'd find a power-up that would be used in a specific area in a specific level, and that's where it stays. Now, Balan is like that for the most part. Each level has its own set of costumes that you find and unlock in order to get through those levels and unlock those statues. Since it banks on the one-button gameplay, each of those 80 costumes exists solely to have one function. Tornado Wolf does a jump and spin, Hardy Hammer does a big melee swing but cannot jump, Water Blaster blasts water. There's like 77 more of these, I'm not gonna get into it. Now, there's 2 major problems with this. Number 1, you'll lose the costume if you get hit. That's not awful conceptually, but I mean, you like lose it. There's a costume select that appears in everyone's stage checkpoints that allow you to trade out what you're wearing. However, if you lost it due to damage, it won't appear in the select. That means it's grind time. That's right, grinding in a 3D platformer. You can have a maximum of 18 costumes of each type, which means you can't even go that buck wild. The annoying part is that you have to use a key to unlock each one of the costume gems, but 9 out of 10 times, the key is right next to the costume you're trying to unlock. Also, if you have more than one on your health bar, it won't spawn anymore, meaning if you want to like properly grind out those costumes, you gotta grab the key, make sure you got the outfit you're grabbing on the far right side of your selection, then grab a new one. Rinse and repeat. Now, why would you want to grind out costumes in the first place? Well, a ton of the game's content requires that cross-stage exploration. There's a handful of costumes the Balan community has dubbed as parkour costumes that allow you to do some shenanigans with the game's engine, like Frost Fairy and Magic Cat. So of course you'll want a bunch of these. More on hardcore Balan parkour in a bit. And what is also another example of the developers being out of their minds, Balan bouts have to be one of the weirdest gameplay additions I've seen in a game. These QTEs not only take forever, but failing to get a full excellent score means you don't get a statue. Now in most games you'd be able to just retry or hell even back out of the stage and grab it again. This game for some reason will not reset any elements of any of the stages until you beat the boss of the world each time. So by design, if you get to one of the stages that has 3 Balan bouts and you miss one, you have to go and beat the boss, retrace through that level and try again. Or, you know, fail and immediately close out the application, reboot it, and then try again. Thank you, autosave. This applies for all gems, mini bosses, and mini games as well. That means yes, you get one chance to play soccer. That's fine though. Bouts are irritatingly long, ridiculously hard to read for some of the presses, and easily the least enjoyable part of the entire game. Like, what am I looking at? Why are they even fighting? I guess we're just supposed to infer everyone's actions and motives without the exchange of any words. A true visionary.
Let's not forget about the stuff the day one patch fixed, like the epileptic seizure-inducing flashing in the final boss. Somehow got past QA. Yeah.
Then we come to Tims. We haven't covered Tims much, but that's because I have no idea what Tims are. There's a lore reason we'll get to, but I think this was a Balan's attempt at doing something like Chow from Sonic Adventure 2. Admittedly, these little babies are very cute and actually remind me of Rabbites from the Mana games, but the raising minigame is very unclear. So you have a giant tower in the middle of your world hub and a giant clicker that counts a number every time a Tim hits one. As you build this thing up, it becomes a multi-tiered tower that continues to count numbers faster and faster, supposedly into 6 digits. You collect gems in each level that are used to feed the Tims, which will then encourage them to work on the tower, causing number go up. When you feed one a bunch, it'll get all thick, and if you throw a small one into it, it'll lay an egg for some reason. Yeah, this is how it works, kids. Just give him a flying crossbody across the top row. Get egg. Anyways, I finished this thing. Yeah, I told you, 100%. Eventually, you have more than 100 of these things running around, and you can easily count up the clock while you AFK and discover The Sopranos 20 years later.
I'm in the middle of a game.
You'll be in the middle of a
Beat Balan Wonderworld.
You don't wise up.
The tower continues to escalate in size with more and more routes and clickers for you to unlock until we reach the goal of finish the tower at a much slower number than I expected. And well, what do we get? Nothing. You get nothing.
Good day, sir!
When you finish the last goal, the entire counter goes away. And that means those 7 digits exist for no reason. Very cool. You do have one specific major unlock with rainbow gems and breeding that's a really neat post-game thing, but I can't spoil that yet, so next section.
I did not think that I was going to be aiming for the platinum trophy in this game. At first I was like making a joke like, hey, let's get the Balan Wonderworld platinum, won't that be funny? And then 4 days later I had it. Balan Wonderworld might be one of the only games I've ever played that gets better the further you get in.
The first few levels of this game are, frankly, the worst it has to offer. Your movement speed, although beefed up a tiny bit from the demo they released, feels so sluggish, which, by the way, that demo's now been removed. Whoops. The costumes you get have such limited functionality. The second level is one of the 3 in this game that has this awful sprawling out camera angle going on. It's supposed to look like a storybook visual, I think, but actually it just makes me feel sick, like Drive Club VR sick. The music in this game is generally very, very good. Ryo Yamazaki is one hell of a composer with a killer resume, but the first level song in this game is very lukewarm.
Yesterday you said you'd call Sears.
I'll call now.
If you were to judge the entire video game based off the awful Balan bouts and these extremely generic and boring first levels, I think I would agree with the review score. However, for some really stupid reason, the best parts of this video game, the parts with some genuine high highs, are all locked behind the credits. I mentioned that there's 36 levels. There's an Act 3 that unlocks when you beat Lance and leave the Wonderworld. An act that is completely devoid of terrible QTEs and is instead a set of challenging platforming sequences where you have to bring in any costumes of your choice. And all of a sudden, there's strategy. Since each costume is a piece of life, you have to make sure you have the right loadout in order to get to the end. Each of these has a new set of rainbow statues and one hidden, typically overpowered costume that you can obtain. Now, a lot of costumes in this game are just powered up versions of old ones. This sounds lazy, but it makes sense when you read about Yuji Naka's struggle to make it to 80 initially. Thus, the explanation for Box Fox, the fox who turns into a box whenever it feels like it. Oh, okay. This is fine. With how many video games are regularly coming out and vying for your attention, who is gonna have the patience to sit past the first 3 worlds, which have to be one of, if not the worst first impressions I've seen a video game do? Just me, probably, so you don't have to.
So, your reward for getting everything, it's a doozy.
Oh, okay. What about the rainbow statues? You're kidding me.
I mean, with the way everything else is played out, it's not like I'm really that surprised. Although I will say I'm glad I at least got trophies out of it. I feel bad for anyone who played the Switch version, not just because you don't get trophies, but also because the game runs like crap apparently. If you gotta do it, don't do it on the Switch. Don't do it. So if you do decide to go for 100%, just beating the game's not gonna be the thing that nabs you all of the trophies. You do have to sit through a decent amount of post-game stuff, and that means you also have to sit through every Balan's bout, which for most people is a deal breaker, and probably, actually no, if you're playing this far, you probably already, you're in. So while doing all of the trophies as a joke for just me, I guess, something suddenly hit. This game has a lot more to offer than anyone knows.
I'm not sure if a single other video game has done this before, but Wonderworld has a hidden difficulty setting that is not selectable. There's a few trophies for defeating lanced versions of specific enemies, and the only way to do that is to fight specific mini-bosses while in hard mode. In order to get to hard mode, you have to defeat a certain number of enemies without taking any damage. I was able to do this in 15 minutes by going to stage 6-2, running around the map in a circle and punching a bunch of dudes. Suddenly, the enemies turn red, some take twice as much damage, and they spawn in greater numbers. And that's cool. This is also reflected on the bosses and mini-bosses as well. Now, whenever you beat a level, you'll get a red thumbs up instead of a yellow one. You did it hard. Wait. However, there are 2 variants of the mini-bosses, red ones and lanced. Lanced have a 25%-ish chance of spawning and are much harder than the normal versions, especially the dude on ice. What the heck? So there's a hidden difficulty setting and even further difficult enemies that have a chance of spawning. Also, if the wrong one spawns and you kill it, you'll have to beat the main boss of the chapter in order to respawn the guy. And keep in mind, you will fall out of hard mode if you get hit one time. Just once, and you're out. Or, you know, close the application, baby. I did this quite a bit. I think it's super awesome to see this old school cryptic stuff. It's totally nostalgic for me to have to search up info on forums. This sense of discovery was and is a fun experience. But also, why did they do this? They could have easily just included a difficulty option to allow the player to have this experience the entire time, something that would have probably made the game better for those who were just bored and breezing through it. All 7 of you. Besides the enemies, hard mode has no unlocks, trophies, or anything for it. It's just kinda there, not explained to the player or even mentioned anywhere. The same goes for Tim breeding, which is necessary for 100% and unlocks a costume that not only completely breaks the game, but shows us a brief glimpse of Yuji Naka's true vision. You need 2 Tims, 3 big gems of each color that will give them a badge for a total of 3. Each Tim has 3 badges, 1 gets thick, do a crossbody, and pray to the RNG gods that it births the Tim of a legend. No, not that one. Then breed the Tim up to a middle size and toss him into the Father Tim statue, which you'll need rainbow gems for. You can get these by re-clearing stages or finding mini statues that'll drop a few. Or exploiting a glitch in stage 6-2 that'll cause them to respawn like 10 seconds from the checkpoint anytime you go into costume select. Save yourself the trouble, cheat, or just don't play this game. Then you hatch a massive thick Tim of Tims, fly up to some rainbow island and pick up a costume for Balan. Just don't get hit. Shit. and I lost it. Time to grind more rainbow gems.
Yeah, you need like 10 or 20 of these things, I don't know the full amount, in order to get the costume again. I should have just reset the game, but I didn't know that was a thing yet, and I feel really stupid, but it's totally worth saving up to get it again, because the Balan costume totally breaks the game.
Prior to this, you're stuck to the ground for the most part, but the Balan costume gives you like 10 jumps and the ability to float for an infinite amount of time. Every level in the game is suddenly a joke, but at the same time, way more enjoyable to explore. I got this outfit, I slipped into stage 1-3, and within seconds, I was seeing Yuji Naka's true vision. I was seeing what the Balan bouts potentially could have been. The Balan outfit, while not invincible, completely shatters most of this game's challenge, and it's really weird that you can unlock this thing really early into the game. But again, I'm not surprised.
It's pretty obvious that Balan Wonderworld is a huge mess, but it's the thing that I kept thinking about and trying to dissect what happened when I was done playing it. So much effort was thrown into the aesthetic and the world and all the little character designs, and I'm sitting there like, why is there no dialogue? What is going on? Turns out that the lore and story and characters were located outside of this game.
What has to be a first, Balan Wonderworld's entire narrative was located in a book they didn't advertise. Yeah, y'all know I'm not one to half-ass stuff, so I bought and read the entire thing. Balan Wonderworld, Maestro of Mystery, Theater of Wonders. Why wasn't this in the game? I have never read a book that reads closer to a script for a video game than this. Written by Soshi Kawasaki, the guy who wrote the story for Vampire Reign, oh my god, Maestro of Mystery not only provides context for the game, it is also the entirety of the characterization, personalities, motives, likes, wants, dislikes, for every single one of these dancing, personalityless husks that Wonderworld throws at you. Yes. The book is separated into 5 sections, each of which represents a different part of the story. There's the beginning, unexpected company, transformation, battle, and after. The opening cutscene of this game is the beginning. The entirety of the video game is battle. Everything else is absent. That's right, the 100 pages of plot setup, character moments, endless dialogue of relationship building, not there. So the reason your character's running around with Balan and fighting things is non-existent. That is, until now. The first few pages have this amazing art you don't see anywhere in game, by the way. We learned that Leo and Emma are actually Street Beat and Fighter. Sick names. It goes through each of the Wonderworld residents and shows us this great art that doesn't feel fully manifested in Arzest's video game. Then we see the following. The Balan Theater appears out of nowhere. Everyone visits the strange playhouse once or twice over the course of their life, and everyone meets with Balan, the mysterious maestro with a smile like a shared secret. Even you, though you wouldn't remember. No one does.
You see, this is how you set up a narrative. You infer something that the reader might have also experienced. It's relatable. It's writing 101. I'm gonna skip all of the fluff and just lay out a simple question. What is Wonderworld?
While playing the game, I was kind of thinking it was purgatory, especially when that dolphin basically murdered that one chick. However, Wonderworld is a metaphor for mental health. It pops up and lets you in when you're consumed with negativity and bad thoughts. It's the age-old tale of hope versus despair seen in countless pieces of media, especially Danganronpa. Each of the residents is there for a specific reason, and a lot of them have been there for a very long time. Street Beat in particular, and this makes me laugh, he's there because he's a sick dancer, and he's too good for anyone else because he has trouble making friends. When you get to Wonderworld, everyone's greeted by Lance, who looks like this and not this, and he provides a safe space for the residents to live, known as their stage, a place that they have the ability to manipulate as they see fit. But who cares about that when you have cool dialogue like, he planted one hand atop the brand new hydrant and swung himself up into a handstand. I don't need anything else to be happy, just this, just dancing. 10 out of 10. Long story short, you meet all of the residents who are all repressing something traumatic that happened to them. Lance has decided to keep everyone in Wonderworld as he enjoys being their friend, when the original purpose of this place was to mend a broken heart. There's a lot of interesting character moments and unique world building, such as everyone knowing each other's fake names without meeting, but this all builds up into a turning point where Emma, known as Fighter in this world, has essentially seen through the code. Turns out that Lance hijacked the place for himself. Balan wants to help these people move on, and Lance is gonna make them fight. Okay, this is kind of dumb. Lance convinces the residents that actually Balan is the bad guy. In order to save Wonderworld, you have to embrace your negativity and become the monster, the ones that you see in the game, which are bosses. Physical manifestations of PTSD and other trauma. All the while, Street Beat's like, I just like dancing, yo. So from here, Street Beat's like, I'm gonna turn into a monster and protect my stage, but he can't. And Balan's like, yo dog, you can't because you just needed to make some friends and you're not negative anymore. It's all good. Now go save them. You did it. Good job. Then the game starts to take place. The entire plot, setup, character building, rising action part of the story is where the game begins. So without all of this setup, it doesn't really seem to, I don't know, make sense. The book has some conversations take place after fights where characters will reveal their traumas, sometimes much darker than you'd expect from this little game. We even get a few neato twists, such as Wonderworld existing as some kind of Matrix-like entity that all of its citizens entered at different points in time. After Lance is defeated and everyone leaves Wonderworld, some characters emerge like 15 years before the others, and they spend the entire end of the novel trying to reconnect into a happy ending that's genuinely kinda touching. There's also some twist about Balan being a creation of Lance who only became bad, in quotations, because he grew too attached to the people that he brought in, not wanting them to leave. And that makes the ending twist, where Balan cries, turning it into a gym, even more heartfelt. It's also only revealed in the book that Clock Tower Kid, the girl with green hair, is also the girl in the Princess Parade that Pensive Perot wanted to ask out, which is his whole reason for going into the Wonderworld. And due to their experiences in Wonderworld, that means she had to wait for years. They even went and animated the same character in both cutscenes, but without the knowledge from the book, it's just like, oh, they have the same eyelashes, I guess. It's almost like this should have been in the game. It even explains why the character models appear in levels and just disappear when you walk up to them. They're illusions trying to attract the player. This book is like a Bible for this game. It should be required. Even if it ruined my life when it explained the plot, saying that the Wonderworld is supposed to restore balance. Balan, Lance, Balan, Lance, balance. Yay, you did it.
This little book laid out a better description of the entire world than 60 hours of me playing the video game did. It even made some of the characters interesting and likable, even if it kind of just read like an automated Google Translate at times, which it definitely did. I mean, it's also pretty funny at times, like when Street Beat's trying to help the invisible custodian want to live, I guess, and he's like, I need somebody's help to clean up the Wonderworld, and he's like, I'm losing the battle against litter. It's 11 out of 10 writing. And if you just play the game, you kind of miss out that Balan's kind of a sassy bitch with a Sonic-like attitude, and Street Beat just wants to dance. He won't stop talking about it. But hey, if you don't want to read the book or spend money on it, which I understand, you could just look at the website.
I was trying to figure out what exactly Balan Company was when I stumbled upon the official website, which just has so much. Not only do we get a ridiculous amount of art to look at, we get a very stylistically designed website that have full explanations for everything going on. Character names, boss names, cute descriptions of things happening in every level in the game, little tidbits on every costume, advice on how to play the game, which is nice considering someone data mined that the tutorial was removed before release. Like, there's so much effort on this website that I'm inclined to believe that something went horribly wrong in the game development process. If you ask me, or most people, Balan Wonderworld should not have been given to Arzest. Looking through the credits, it seems that Balan Company was designed to be a smaller team that worked with outside developers to create bigger projects, meaning that Balan Company was mostly all of the stuff not pertaining to the gameplay itself. The direction, the aesthetics, the music, concepts, and art, all of which are pretty fantastic. But when you look at the developer, Arzest, and their history of games, you'll see a lower standard of quality. In fact, this was the very first HD video game that Arzest even worked on, as they've been mostly making stuff on the 3DS for Nintendo, such as Hey Pikmin. Why Square Enix and Balan Company decided that this developer would be the one to work on what I assume to be a decently sized budget game from a AAA publisher is completely baffling to me. And on top of that was the COVID-era pandemic development cycles where most studios were all working from home, and even though this started in 2018, 2019, you can really see the toll 2020 took on it. There's a lot of cut content, and even though it's polished in a lot of the areas that matters, it's not a very glitchy game. It's just extremely bland and has a lot of gameplay directions that hold it way back. That and the whole no dialogue thing, but I'm no expert. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't even think that the one-button gameplay was that big of a deal, because the later levels in the game give you so much more freedom, and the costumes are a bit more intricate than you can jump in water, and you can jump into water with electricity.
It's kind of pointless to critique without offering some kind of fix or alternative though, so let's do it!
Balan Wonderworld is at its very best when you're breaking the crap out of it. Once you get the ability to take Frost Fairy or Magic Cat into other worlds, the possibility of how to platform opens up big time. Suddenly, just like your 3D Marios, you embark on a journey to see how you can collect all of the statues in the most unintended and dumb manners possible. Both of those costumes allow you to airwalk a good distance, with Frost giving you a little incline. However, if you mash the button instead of holding onto it, you can drag out the distance that you go, allowing you to get some pretty bad air. There's also close to no invisible walls in this game, so you can really go the distance. It's with this I was able to collect a lot of hidden costumes, find several hidden mini games, and even spot a few backstage locations where you can see the Wonderworld residents sitting down and chilling. It's a pretty neat fourth wall moment. Since this game has a theater motif, everything happening being a stage play makes a lot more sense. In fact, when you pair that up with Street Beat being a dancer, even the dancing segments at the end of every boss fight make a lot of sense. If you combine the knowledge of the novel with the game itself, those absurd, over-the-top musical numbers suddenly become Street Beat allowing himself to dance with others, mending his own broken heart. Simultaneously, if you collect all of the Balan statues in a world and beat the boss again, the song sung in gibberish is suddenly in English with lyrics that are essentially, "Yay, we are friends, being friends is cool, I love you," and stuff, which could also be seen as the mending of Emma's heart for her trust in others to fully express herself.
We'll be alright, we're no fire, come and see the other side.
They were doing something here. They just really messed it up. And here's how to fix it. Step 1. Change the way the game progresses and add cutscenes. There was clearly a lot of story that they could have told here, especially since they made a nearly 300-page book out of it. The first half of that book is the gang all meeting each other and starting to see cracks in the illusions that Lance put forth to their worlds. So take all of the Act 1 levels, add a few mini-bosses here and there, and have you go through all of those first. You can collect costumes as you explore your new friends' stages, meanwhile adding character moments and, cutscenes, so you can actually know what the heck you're doing and with who. There's no reason for me to go through 2 levels watching a random character disappear before then being introduced to them with a cutscene before I smash them up. I only got 40 seconds of empathy, that's just not enough. Next, have a cutscene where there's a big reveal where Lance is Balan's the bad guy, making everyone's stages transform to defend themselves. Then when you meet up with Balan and realize that, yeah, this is what we gotta do, you then go stage to stage, defeating all of the characters' monster forms, and you get to feel somewhat attached while saving lives. Go ahead and add Act 3 in there as well, because it's the best this game has to offer. Then you beat the game, and that's it. Easy. I fixed it. Step 2, get rid of Balan bouts. It's a no-brainer here. I think that Balan bouts were supposed to be something different. When you play in the Balan costume, you can see that they maybe had an idea of something you could have done. Like perhaps separate the acts by playing as Balan, where you then have to fly around and do some crazy stuff in order to get to spice up the gameplay. I don't think there's anyone out there that was watching Balan punch a rock for the 100th time in a row and was like, man, that was sick. Step 3, costumes. You don't need 80 costumes, that's ridiculous. Even though each one has a decent, well, maybe creepy designed and a silly mocapped dance, they're just unnecessary. Do we really need 10 different outfits that shoot out projectiles if we stop moving? You could easily narrow this down to 30 or 40, which was what they were originally projecting, and still be good. Also, making them consumable was a bad idea. Just make it so that you can take 3 hits of damage and then you die. Step 4, more Tim integration. I'm still not really sure what the Tims are? According to the book, they're the opposite of the Nagati, the evil creatures of the world. They feed on tears in order to bring happiness, while Nagati do the opposite. It goes with the balance motif and stuff, but besides attempting to have a cute mascot character to sell, I really don't understand what it is they were going for. I guess they follow you around in stages and attack enemies sometimes, but it's barely noticeable. There's a decent amount of content regarding Tims, including potentially taking them into levels with you, but alas, cut content. Hashtag free the Tims. Let them race or perhaps participate in a karate tournament? Final step, let me mess around. Balan is at its best when you're just messing around with the physics and jumping like there's no tomorrow. For a game that allows you to take any costume into any level, limiting costume spawn points to Axe was a weird decision. I think it would have been best to just pull from an inventory or even just force me to pick stuff from a checkpoint without losing it. Having to grind costumes from orbs right next to keys is just a time waster. And if you weren't aware, this game actually has a 2-player co-op mode, which is pretty much just little sibling mode, allowing you to easily kill someone by just changing the camera angle. However, it also allows you to link up characters where one person moves, but both can do their action. In this mode, you can really hardcore parkour all over maps and earn balance statues way before you should be able to do so. These are the kind of moments where Balan Wonderworld is fun? Did I just say that? Ah, shit. It's just unfortunate that any costumes player 2 collects or has will just be discarded. Like, they don't save. They're just gone. Again, it's random, baffling decisions like this.
I don't think Balan Wonderworld's a very good game, but I also don't think it's a very bad game. I think it's something that's misunderstood not only by the people who are playing it, but also the developers. It's a game of genuine high highs and also very, very low lows. Bad enough to where I was audibly groaning, but damn if I am not fascinated by this game.
Despite being a brand new game, I think that Balan Wonderworld has given me a total sense of nostalgia. I do feel like I'm playing a weird imported Japanese PlayStation 1 or Saturn game, and it does legit feel like it could be. It's got that mystique and intrigue that only something like Nights into Dreams can have, but also the weird jank where you're having to scour forums to understand what's going on. It also has a wonderful presentation and a vision that, while hard to see, with the full picture, a squint, head tilted, corrective frames on, is pretty cool. It's easily one of the most unique video games released in the last year, and something that will be remembered for better or worse. Definitely worth. I, of course, cannot recommend Balan Wonderworld. That would be totally irresponsible, but I do know that there's a handful of you guys out there who love the curiosity, the weird thing that pops up every now and then. For you, I say go nuts. Then you too can look at the unused Balan costume color for a second flare that literally exists without being data mined but cannot be selected because why would anything good happen?
Balan feels like an incomplete package, but one that did get a little bit better after I read the novel. The question is, should you spend all of that time and effort that I did in order to feel that this game's maybe a 6.5 at its peak? Maybe a 7? I'm gonna say no. No one should, ever. But I did it so you don't have to. And hey, that was Balan Wonderworld, a game that I got really passionate about that nobody cares about, but regardless, I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Join me next time when we talk about an entire series of titillating action games. Just remember, whenever you're feeling kind of down about yourself and need a little pick-me-up, remember one thing from me. Don't get consumed by negativity and go to sleep every single night knowing that IGN thinks that this game is better than God Hand. I'll never forget.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to click the link down in the description to get your free trial for Skillshare today. Special Patreon shout out to Brandon Howell, Chris Shelton, Christopher Olivia, D.A. Stevens, Darren Newton, Donnan, DX Buster, David Molnar, Eli Shane Staufenecker, GM Pinks, Jay Roos, Jacoby Fitzpatrick, Jordy McCaffrey, Kevin Zanowski, Kieran Arter, Legend Gary, Nick Irving, P Funk, Ryan Talbert, and Zach Porter. Thank you all so much for your generous support. I hope everybody liked the video. It was a very several nights of editing, but I think it was worth it. I only hate myself a little bit. There's gonna be more content coming soon. I might need a couple days because I'm getting the second part of my COVID vaccine tomorrow, which means I'm going to be infused with the 5G, but everything should be good. Stream's coming soon, and I hope you guys have a great day.